So we decided that I was not going to keep the baby. And I actually got laid off from my job. I was making $52 a week, and my rent was $100 a month. So I had family support, and they wanted me to keep the baby, but because I was out on my own already, I chose to make my own decision, and I gave Jenny up for adoption. It was very hard to do, but I did it, and I went on with my life. And a year later, I married the man that I got pregnant with, which is really her father. And we waited 2 more years before we ever had Josh. And then we waited another 2.5 years before we had Jenna. And as time went on and they got older, I always let them know that they did have a sister. I never hid it from them. I told everyone that they know. And as time went on, Jenna, she really wanted to find her sister. And when the internet first came out, it seemed like we were one of the first ones to have a computer. And she was at a chat with someone, and there was actually a guy that she had somehow hooked up with, and he had a vital statistics book. And in that book, it told that Jenny was born in Gibbons Hospital in Salina on May 5th, 1975, and she was the only baby born on that day. And he actually had, in the book, it told that her name was Jennifer Butler. So from there, we kind of had an idea of who she was, but because of her being older by then, it was kind of hard to know where to start to look for her, or if she was married, how would I ever find her with a married name? So we actually got online and we found a bunch of Jennifer Butlers in Ohio, and we wrote some letters, and we did get responses back that no, they were not the Jennifer Butler that we were looking for. So we were kind of at a dead end. And so we really just, didn't know where to go. I mean, you could look on the internet, and the internet isn't as big then as it is now, So maybe if it would have happened now, I could have found her a lot easier. But then I'll let her tell what happened next.
Well, like she said, I was given up for adoption at birth and placed in a foster home for a month. And my parents, Tom and Sue Butler, were thrilled when they got the phone call that I was ready to come home. I grew up in London, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half from here, and had a wonderful upbringing. My parents owned a flower shop, and we lived next door, so we were very busy. We attended church regularly. We were just involved in lots of activities. We traveled. I mean, I just had a normal, good upbringing. I went to a private Christian school. I attended Cedarville University, where I got my bachelor's in education, and then I went on to get my master's in education as well, and I taught kindergarten up until the last couple of years. So it's been good, and I got married at 23 and have just enjoyed life. But the same thing with them, my parents told me at a young age that I was adopted, and they explained what that meant, and told me, that I was special, and I was always very proud of being adopted. I thought it was really cool, and I tell all my friends that I was adopted everywhere I went, so I just thought it was neat. But throughout the years, I was always curious about my adoption, and questions always arose, mainly around my birthday. Was my birth mom thinking of me? Did I have a family out there? What did she look like? All that stuff. So I would think about her, and my adoption was a close adoption, so I didn't have much to go on. All I knew was that my last name was Roebuck, and that I was born at a hospital, she said, and that the doctor's name. So I was secretly hoping that I was from the Roebuck Sears family.
Who was the doctor?
Dr. Fox.
Dr. Fox.
Yes, Donald Fox, yeah.
My sisters were born together.
Were they? Yeah.
So my parents always told me growing up that if I wanted to look for my adopted family, that would be fine, but they just wanted to be a part of the process. So I didn't really have a reason to go looking for them other than medical reasons. I would, go to the doctor and they'd ask me medical questions, and I'd just say, I don't know. So, and other than curiosity, I was always curious if there was somebody out there and where I came from. I think it became even more prevalent in my teen years that I was more curious, and I would my parents own the flower shop, and so they had a computer as well, and it wasn't like the internet wasn't like today, and so I would type in Roebuck and I would type in Salina, and addresses would come up, but and I'm sure it was one of theirs, but I never acted on it. So 11 years ago this spring, I was on my way to Fort Wayne with my mom and my mother-in-law, and we were going to the Vera Bradley sale, and I knew that Salina, I was going near Salina on the way to Fort Wayne, and so I was looking for any clues that said Roebuck. So I was looking at road signs, I was looking for, anything that said Roebuck. And as I'm looking out my window, I see a sign about this big, and it says Roebuck Cemetery. And I was shocked, I couldn't believe it, but we had shopping on the brain, so we just kept on going. And a couple weeks later, I was with my parents again, both my parents, and we were going to Fort Wayne, and I showed my dad the sign. So he said, let's stop and just, look at the cemetery. So I thought, okay, and I was really nervous, I don't know why, nobody was there. So we got out and we looked around the cemetery, and it didn't really give us any clues. And so there was a farmhouse next door, and my dad said, let's go knock on the door and see if they know anything. And I said, oh, Dad, no, and I just wanted to hide in the car and get out. So I said, okay. So he got out, and I think he started talking to this older man named Lyle Snyder, and Lyle was very nice, and finally I got out of the car and kind of explained the situation, and he said, let me go get my wife, Esther, and so she came out, and she was very sweet, and she was very interested in my story, and she said, if you give me any information that you have, I'll see what I can do. So,
Yeah, and so she actually contacted Joanne Counterman, which I know and my mom knows, and she told another lady who ended up telling a person that I worked with when it happened. So this person was like, do I call her and do I tell her what's going on? Or do I just keep it to myself? So she waited probably like a month or so before she called me. And she said, I don't know if you want to know this or not, but she said, I think I know where your daughter is. And I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So she ended up giving me Esther Snyder's name, the lady that she had talked to. And so I called her and I told her who I was and stuff. And she had actually kind of went to the library and looked it up and found out who I was. So she knew it was me. So I called her and I talked to her, and then she gave me her number. And I was so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh. So I ended up calling, and I got her adopted sister. And she said she wasn't there. So I left a message, and then she called me back.
So on July 5th, I got a phone call from her, well, from my sister at first, and she said that Marianne had called, and I just couldn't believe it. From Esther, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't expect a phone call or anything to happen.
I guess the funny thing was, though, I had to tell her that she did have a family because, me and her dad had actually got married, and she actually had 2 biological brothers and sisters, which she had no clue about. So she was nervous. She said she wanted to talk to her parents, and we talked that day. And then the next day she called me back and she said, I can't wait for my mom and dad to get home. I have to come up and see you. So we were like laughing. We were getting all fancy, fixed up. We just moved into a new house, and we had no clue about what they were going to be or who they were. And we laugh about it now because she always says, I always wondered if you'd be like a hillbilly or, didn't have any money, or anything, So we met that day, and we've been seeing each other, and she talks to her sister daily, on a daily basis. They're Snapchatting and texting and Facebooking and getting together at Christmas and birthdays, and, just throughout the year we try to get together. And, with her living in Columbus and me working every day, we don't see each other all the time, but several times a year we do get together and we talk on the phone, and
Yeah, it was just.
I guess it was meant to be when it happened. Yeah,
it was, and it was definitely a shock. I remember her when I called her. I was just pacing my house, thinking, is this real? And then when she told me that they had gotten married, I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. And then she told me I had a blood brother and sister, and then she told me that Jenna's name was Jenna Lynn, and my parents had named me Jennifer Lynn. And so, you know, it was so similar, and Josh is Josh Louise, so we're all JL's initials, so it was just, you know, that was really interesting. But, I mean, it's been really good. I have an adopted sister, and she has gone and looked for her birth parents, and she found them both, and it wasn't a fairy tale ending like this has been. And I don't think adoption is for everybody. My parents have had good, me, and they've had my sister, and it hasn't been so good, and it's been really hard, so they've had to deal with that. And I mean, you don't know what you're getting, you know, when they place the baby in your hands, you don't know. But like for me, I mean, as we've talked and gotten to know each other, I mean, there's definitely traits, and she loves to read, and her mom likes to read, and I love to read, you know, and just things like that.
Yeah, we like fashion, and I mean, there's just a lot of similarities, you know, just like with your sisters, that they look a lot like. Some people will say, "Are you guys twins?" You know. So it's been a good ending, you know, and we've kept contact, and yeah. I mean, I always told her though, I would have, even if I would have tried to find her, I would have never done it until I knew that she would have been 21.
And I was glad that I was older, I was established, I was married, I had a job. I didn't need them for any reason. I wasn't looking to move in with them or ask for money.
Well,
you know.
no way.
No, but you know, it was good that I was established. I think it just made it easier and less complicated.
Right.
I have 2 boys. I have a 4-year-old over there, and I have an 8-year-old, and they're just starting to understand what's going on. My 8-year-old is like, oh, now you didn't come from Grandma Sue, you came from Mary Ann, and he's trying to put all the pieces together, which, you know, is interesting too. So
Yeah.
You 3 girls are all so gorgeous. What happened to Josh?
He's the adopted.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe he is secretly the adopted one.
Poor Josh. Yeah.
What are the ages of the
he-
kids?
He got the height that he did, so yeah.
I'm 32. Josh is 35, and Jenny 39.
not yet.
38. Sorry. Almost.
But it's been a good story, and we're glad that we found each other, and we all get along, and you know, it's been good the whole way. It's been almost 11 years this summer. So yeah, I know, it's going really fast, yeah. But I always thought about her on her birthday, and I always, like I said, I never hid it from my kids or any of my friends or family. I mean, they always knew what happened, you know. But I was hoping someday that we would be able to find her and have a friendship, you know. I mean, I know she still has a mom and dad, which they raised her, so you know.
And my parents, like I said, were always supportive, but when the time actually came, it was really hard on my dad. My dad took it really hard, and I just kept telling him, again, you are my parents, I don't need them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an add-on bonus, you know,
Right.
so.
Yeah. And I would have never done that. I would have never just jumped in and said, you know, I'm your mom, you know, you need to call me mom and all this. Because I knew she had parents, and I knew that would be really hard on them because they raised her, you know. And I mean, if we could just be friends and get along for the rest of our life, I'm happy. So it's been a good ending.
Where do you live now, Jenny?
I live in London, still.
Still in London?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
You don't happen to know the Hansons, Mike and Shirley and Bethany, Violet and Miss Hanson? She's about the same age.
I think so, but I didn't go to London, so I might.
Have you been told you look like Jessica Simpson?
You got good genes.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you so much. Thank you.